Okay, hello students. Here I'm making a video on evaluating inverse trigonometric function for all the six ratios. So I put some problems right here on the board. Let me go through them, each one of them. So the main thing we need to know is making sure that whenever you are asked to find the inverse trigonometric value for an value, we want to make sure it belongs to the domain first. The first question is sine inverse of 1. Now, question is just asking sine of what angle is 1, and we all know that it has to be pi by 2, and because sine of pi by 2 is 1. But the thing is, we need to be careful that this 1 is part of the domain of inverse functions. It is, so there is a 1 right here. So if this same question was asked something a different, let's see, if this number was put at 2, then you say, hey, this 2 is not part of the domain of the inverse function. So you would say, if this was the question, then you would say, hey, does not exist. Let's see the second question, cosine inverse root 3 by 2. Straight away the question, we know the answer. It has to be a pi by 3, and the reason is cosine of pi by 3 is going to be root 3 by 2. Check the next question, tan inverse of minus root 3. Now tan inverse of minus root 3 we can use directly the formula that if it is a cosine inverse, and if it is, check this out. For tan inverse, if it is a negative here, then that negative can be pulled outside. So I already showed the video why you can always pull this minus outside. So in this example, we can write this minus as tan inverse of root 3, and then you ask a question, tan of which angle is root 3, and that is pi by 3. Let's go to the next one, secant inverse of 1 over 3. Then you can use here reciprocal identity. So what is reciprocal identity? See, check this out. Secant inverse of x is same as, you can change it to cosine inverse of 1 upon x. So this can be written as cosine inverse of 3 over 1. And then you get cosine inverse of 3. But then you can see this 3 that you see it's not a part of the domain, because the domain cosine, you need to be careful that the x that we are going to use, the domain of cosine inverse, has to be between minus 1 plus 1. So this we say, hey, this does not exist. Cosecant of inverse of x, first of all, there is a minus, right? So if it is minus, then you can easily pull it out. Cosecant inverse of minus, so I'm going to write this as, and then change it to use reciprocal identity cosecant of inverse, that's 1. So this minus stays the same, and this will be sine inverse of 1 over root 2, because this root 2 is over 1, so it becomes 1 over root 2, and that is same as minus sine inverse root 2, 2. So you don't have to write this. You could write directly from here and say, hey, that's pi by 4, because pi by 4 sine of 45 is root 2 by 2. Next one, this is where we need to be very careful now. Sine inverse of sine minus pi by 3. The question is this sine minus pi by 3, this part, is it part of the domain of the restricted domain? So look at this inverse function sine. This is minus 1 to 1, but then the range is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So whatever that you are taking here has to be part of the restricted domains. And you can clearly see it is between, so this number minus pi by 3, so this minus pi by 3 does lie between minus pi by 2 and pi by 2. In that case, you don't even have to do no work, you just have to just say, hey, this goes away, and directly get the same thing, and you are done. So simple. Let's go to the next one. Watch this out. This is sine of 7 pi by 6. Now 7 pi by 6 is outside the domain, because this is greater than pi by 2, 7 pi by 6. So you can't just cross it out this way. So we need to work out what is this. So in such case, you first work out only what is that answer. So this will be sine inverse of, okay. Now where is this 7 pi by 6? So this 7 pi by 6, if you check this out, 7 pi by 6 is the angle which is in the second quadrant. So it has to be, sine is positive, that's minus and plus, sine is positive, so this is going to be plus. And just now that we have already written the sines, I'll take this out, and sine pi by 6 is half. And then you ask the question, what is sine inverse of half? The sine inverse of half gives you back to pi by 6. So this is how you do that problem. Same thing here, this cosine 2 pi by 3. The question is this 2 pi by 3? Is 2 pi by 3 between, is it really between 0 to pi? Because for restricted domain for cosine inverses here, it has to be 0 to pi. So this 2 pi by 3 is really, it's like 2 times 60, which is 120. And you can clearly see it's really true that this 120 is between 180. So we can just don't do nothing, just write, hey, that's 2 pi by 3 straight away. So anything is in the domain of restricted domain of trigonometric function, you can just cross it out. Okay. Look at the next question is, what about this 3/4? Now such cases, cosine inverse 3 by 4. Now 3/4 we don't have no value directly from the table. So what I'm going to do is, let's put this answer, this is like an angle, this is like an angle. So we can write cosine, this part, cosine inverse 3 by 4 equals, let's see, it is theta, which by definition, cosine theta is 3/4. So that means this is opposite over adjacent, and I can draw a triangle like this and say, okay, that's the theta. So that's the opposite, and this one is adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's 3, this is 4, this is 4. And then you need to find the opposite. No, I'm just making a video for my other class. Quickly, 5 minutes, as they are getting ready. So 3/4, and then we need to find the opposite, and the opposite directly you can use square root of the hypotenuse square minus the leg square. So I'm going to write directly 16 minus 9 is 7. So that way this is square root of 7, and now you can directly write this as cosine of, so this answer theta, cosine of theta is just 3/4. So this answer will be 3/4. So again I repeat, first make a triangle out of this, cosine is 3/4, find the other one. And basically you don't even have to do nothing here, because just wanted to show, just in case it was a different value, then what you do. So basically you get the same thing, just cross it out. How can you cross out? Because this 3/4 is between -1, this angle, this 3/4, is between -1 to +1. So we can easily do that. Next question is, what about tan inverse of tan 3 pi by 4? Question is, what is tan 3 pi by 4? Can we directly cross it out? So you need to be very careful, because the domain here is, for tan is, it has to be minus pi by 2, and this 3 pi by 4 is more than pi by 2. So we can't just cross it out. So we have to do something about it. Let's figure out only the angle part, this part, the value. So for this, write tan inverse of this one, tan of 3 pi by 4. We know tan pi by 4 is √2, and 3 pi by 4 is the angle in the second quadrant. So in the second quadrant, you can see minus and plus. So cosine and sine, if you take tan, is plus over minus, so it has to be negative. And then because of the, you can use this rule and write down, if it is cosine inverse of minus tan inverse, you can pull out the minus out, so this will be minus tan inverse of √2. So tan inverse of √2, so instead of this pi by 4 is, I made a slight mistake here, this should be 1 here. So this will be 1, and tan inverse of 1 is minus pi by 4, and done. What about the next one? I'll just finish this video, okay? You guys do your homework. Just 3-4 minutes for my other college class, and we'll do that video for them. Okay, so sine inverse of half. First part, what is sine inverse of half? We all know that tan Sine inverse of half is pi by 6, that's 30 degrees. So let me put pi by 6 right here. Okay, and then what is tan of pi by 6? Tan pi by 6 is root 3 over 3. And you're done. So simple. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So the last 5 questions. So let's go to this board now. First of all, what is tan inverse of minus root 3? So tan of inverse minus 3, the black minus, we can pull this out. This minus, I can write this as sine of minus. So this minus can be pulled out and written as tan inverse of square root of 3. And this inside, the value will be minus tan inverse of root 3 is pi by 3. So this will be 60 degrees, so 60 degrees pi by 3. And then again we can write sine of negative is always, if there is a minus, you can write tan of sine of pi by 3. And sine 60 is minus square root of. So this is how you figure out the exact value. Let's go to the next one, cosine. Now this is like an angle theta. This is like a theta. So I can create a triangle, because this is, if I make this as theta, so it means tan of theta is 4 by 3, and this is opposite of adjacent, so this is opposite and adjacent is 3, and by Pythagorean triplet you can say 3, 4, this has to be 5, because 3 square plus 4 square is 25 and 5 times 5 is, so this is the angle theta. So this part is theta and then cosine. So this answer straight away is cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is right here is the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So the answer is, this answer is going to be 3 by 4. That's it. So let's do the next one. Second, sine inverse of 3 by 5. We can use the same idea in this example. This is theta. So again the triangle. This time the opposites. Now this is theta, means sine of theta is 3/5. So this is 3 and this is 5. That's the opposite, that's the hypotenuse. So we need to figure out the adjacent. So if this is the theta, so this will become 4 because 3, 4, 5, and that's why this secant. So this is, now what is secant basically by definition? Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, so you get the answer will be 5 by 4. So this is the hypotenuse. So this theta is this one, and the secant is asked. The secant is hypotenuse over adjacent. So hypotenuse is 5, and adjacent is 4. So there you go. Let's go to the next one. In this example, same thing again. This is your theta, which is a triangle. So sine of theta, if this is the angle theta, opposite, that is 3 over hypotenuse, this is 4. So this is 3 and that is 4. This will be square root of 16 minus 9, which will be 7. So this will be 7. So that's the opposite, that's the adjacent, that's the hypotenuse. Now the question is asked, this is cotangent. What is cotangent? Is adjacent over opposite. So if you see from the figure, you can directly know what is the adjacent. That's the square root of 7 and divide by 3, and you're done. Last one. Now sometimes they don't give you the numbers. Like you can see, there is a 3/5 given, there is a 4/3, but here there is a variable. But still, we can make a triangle. Like so in this triangle, if you see, this is x. So the angle, this part is the theta. So this is theta. So when you write x, so if I write this sine inverse of x, it is, so this is like opposite over hypotenuse. So this is like x opposite, hypotenuse is 1. And you can use the Pythagorean formula and say square of this 1 minus x squared. And then you can apply cosine. What is cosine? Means adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent is square root of 1 minus x squared. And the hypotenuse is, there you go, done. So this is how the last 3 problems. In this example, again the same idea, sine inverse, but they are asking you tan. This question and this question is the same. Only thing is tan is opposite over adjacent. So here the opposite is x, and the adjacent is square root of 1 minus x squared. There you go, done. The next one, again, I think I repeated this. This is the same thing. Go to the next part. If you see cosine of tan inverse, this is x over 1. So that means this is theta. I can create a triangle with a theta here. And this basically means tan of theta is x, which is 1. So opposite over adjacent. So we can use Pythagorean triplet and so this will be this square plus that square. That's how you find the hypotenuse. Okay. And then the question is, this is cosine. What is cosine? Is adjacent over a hypotenuse, which is adjacent. Right now here is 1, so this is 1. And the hypotenuse is square root of 1 minus x squared. And finally, the last problem of the day. Okay, in this example, I can create another triangle here, which is x over 2. So this is going to be theta, this is theta. So cosine is adjacent. So this is x, which is adjacent is x, and the hypotenuse is 2. And if you try to use the Pythagorean triplet, this will be square root of 4 minus and the square of this x squared. And because this is tan, which is opposite of adjacent, opposite is 4 minus x squared, and the adjacent is x. Ha ha ha, done. Make sure you complete all those problems from the Cengage. They are pretty easy, but I just made this video for you guys as an assistance to make sure you get the whole thing how to go about. Thank you. Take care.